Georgia State University is now landing millions of dollars in federal funding to rethink how college students are tested and taught. Researchers just secured $4 million to expand what's called scenario-based learning. This is all a new approach which blends real-world problem solving with assessment and could even change how AI is used in the classroom. Let's take a closer look at this grant with Jonathan Cohen, assistant professor in GSU's Department of Learning Sciences. Glad to have you here. Look, we all remember taking tests, at least a lot of us did back in school, but this is something new, scenario-based learning. What is this all about?
So the idea, as you were implying, that sometimes in college courses, students have a similar experience where you learn something, sometimes just by rote memorization, and then you dump it out on an exam, and then you move on with your life. And then the next day it's like, wow, if I had to take that test today, I'd be in big trouble. So the idea is that we know that students aren't actually getting a lot better at critical thinking skills, even if they're doing a good job of memorizing their course material. So not all courses do this, but some rely on what you just described. Students have a bunch of lectures and these high stakes tests. And because these tests often feel disconnected from the real world, students end up using brain dump study habits just to pass rather than truly digging in to understand the concepts. So if we rethink these assessments that encourage this type of brain dumping, we might be able to change the game. And so that's where scenario-based learning and assessments come in.
It seems to make sense. I think about my history class, all this stuff you learn, you cram it in, and then I don't remember half of it. But hey, what actually would students experience in one of these scenario-based assessments? What would it be like?
So these are digital learning modules with embedded scaffolded assessments that are integrated into authentic scenarios. So as an example, in one course at GSU, students learn an interdisciplinary problem-solving process. And instead of just reading about it in a textbook, students go through these scenario-based learning and assessments where they take on the role of an intern at a community-based nonprofit where they're tasked with developing a plan to address high school dropouts in their community by authentically moving through the interdisciplinary problem-solving process. So instead of just reading about it or talking about it, the students actually do it. And along the way, we've learned that the students learn more deeply this way, and the instructor has a more useful assessment that he can use to support his students' learning.
Yeah, just the real hands-on experience. I think it always seems to, factor in better and you soak up more. But how does AI factor into all of this?
Great question. So we do integrate AI into this process, and we take a very human-centered approach to the AI, and it's really in two ways. The first way is that the early scenario-based learning and assessments took a really long time and a lot of effort to create, and so it wasn't particularly feasible for individual instructors to make them for their own courses. Now we can leverage generative AI to support the instructors so that they can build these SBLAs and perfectly tailor them to their own teaching and to their own students' needs. And also, we know that we need to boost students' AI literacy, and SBLAs provide opportunities to model appropriate uses of AI.
Yeah, I've got about 30 seconds here. This is still pretty much a new model, especially for GSU. Where do you think this goes, let's say, 5 years from now?
Yeah, so the goal is we have this research project, and we're developing an AI-generated authoring system, AI-powered authoring system to help instructors be able to create these for their own courses anywhere. So it's not just at GSU, but any instructor in any university can leverage the power of these things to support their students' learning.
It is very fascinating. I wish it was around when I was in college. I mean, I think, I would have perhaps soaked up a little bit more. Professor Jonathan.
Come on back.
Yeah, I think all of us would. Jonathan Cohen, professor at GSU. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
And we'll be right back.